Welcome to the La-Bel Patterns Printable Fairy Wings tutorial. We made these wings in many different colours to suit a wide range of costumes. If you haven't already purchased your wing file, you can do so via the link in the description. We made these wings to look like real butterflies, like the famous Cicely Mary Barker Flower Fairies illustrations. While we noticed there are many different types of fairy wings out there were none of them that had that really realistic butterfly wing look that the Flower Fairies illustrations have, so we decided we would make some. So for this project, you're going to need 8 pages that you have printed out. That's 2 of each. There are 4 different parts of the wing. You're going to print them twice for front and back. You're going to need a pair of scissors, some tape, some glue dots or double-sided tape. You're going to need 22 gauge wire. You could do 20 gauge or maybe 18 gauge. I think 18 might be a little bit thick. Floristry wire is 22 gauge, so you can use that as well. You're going to get some cover seal. I recommend matte cover seal because it won't make the wings too shiny, a little bit more realistic to how a butterfly wing looks. You'll need a glue stick, a stapler, something to kind of push the cover seal down, so a credit card is totally fine, and then some elastic. I've got this blush elastic. It's kind of similar to my daughter's skin tone, so that's what I'll be using today. So we're going to take our card 2 pieces at a time, so the 2 that look exactly the same, you're going to place them on each other and then cut around the edge, leaving like a 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch gap. Then you're just going to work your way through all of the sets of wings like that. Now this is just going to make it's cutting off all the excess, so they're easier to work with. We're going to be putting them on cover seal later, and then that way we're using up way less cover seal, and it just streamlines the whole process. So get your cover seal. I like to tape it to my workspace. I was using the kitchen counter, so that was not going to be a problem with my table. Hopefully you can tape it down and it isn't going to ruin the wood your table, but just roll that out and then take all your pieces face down and then place them on. Now I did kind of push them down with like that credit card or my tool. I actually don't think you should do this because later on I stopped doing it and I had a mistake, and I was really glad that I hadn't pushed the mistake in. So I'm going to show you that mistake later. We're going to fix all the mistakes that I make together because you're probably going to make them too. So apologies for the less than perfect tutorial. I just kind of feel like editing out all my mistakes and not being able to guide you through them doesn't actually help. Okay, so if you see with this wing, I had some bubbles in there, and if I had pushed them down earlier, that might have trapped the bubbles in, but because I was able to turn it around, see that they were there, push them out really carefully in the right sort of direction, they didn't get stuck there. So here I've got another mistake, slightly overlapped them. I was able to cut them apart because of that gap around the edge. That was really lucky. And then here also really, really big bubbles this time, and I was able to pull it back very carefully and push it all back over it, and it worked. So if that ever happens to you, be really careful, see if you can fix it. If not, you can print another one. It's not the end of the world. Okay, so then now you're just going to make them all sealed down nicely with your tool or with a credit card, and that just makes them all look really professional. I mean, you'll see that it needs to be done when you've got it in front of you. So yeah, just go over all of those and they will start looking really beautiful. Okay, so now we're just going to cut around the edge. Just be really careful to do that quite accurately, because when you put both sides on each other, you'll see where you've made a mistake, and you can just fix those mistakes later. But yeah, I would also recommend, like, these take a little while, so obviously my camera's got it sped up really fast. You know, make yourself a cup of tea and sit and watch a show while you do these. You'll probably get an episode in, so yeah, that just makes it a lot more fun. And I did that on the ones that I didn't film, and it kind of made the time go faster. Okay, so lay these all out in their pairs and then take one set away and then turn them all over, and we are going to start sticking our wire to our wings. So you're going to take a piece of wire, loop it around, and we're going to make sort of like a frame that is going to go inside of the layers of the wing. So you've got that piece of wire, you've measured how long it is. Make sure you've got a little bit extra because you're going to make a little loop, and then double that over so you get that length twice, because there are 2 bottom wings, 2 top wings. So we'll start with the bottom. Now, I didn't list wire cutters earlier on because I wanted to show you that you don't have to go out and buy all these fancy new tools to make these. If you don't have any wire cutters, you can just use a pair of scissors, but it could damage the blade. So what I do is, if I'm in a pinch, I use the part of the blade that's really closest to your hands, and then it doesn't damage the part of the blade that you ever use. So I've got 2 pieces here. I'm going to fold them over, and I'm going to make a little loop kind of around the edge of the bottom one, and then just twist the ends together and make a little loop there. And then just do the same on the other one. Yeah, match it to the one that you've already made, and then you get them all nice and uniform. I just trimmed off, there was like a spiky bit that I could tell was going to push through the cardboard later, so I did cut that off. You can use your scissors to do that. So now just do the same at the top. Measure it, make 2, cut them in half, make your loops, twist together, make the loops for the little center part. Cut it off if you need to, and then repeat on the other side. So now we are going to just smooth the wire out, make it just a good shape, and then we're going to get our tape, and we're just going to tape it all on. So just put a few pieces of tape around it. So you don't have to be perfect, it's just to hold it in place, and tape is a really just great way to hold it in place. The top has a different sort of shape, and you see what I'm doing with where I'm placing the loops. I don't want all these big loops of metal all lining up on top of each other. So within the 2 top pieces and the 2 bottom pieces, you see I've got one going to the top and the other one going to the bottom, and that's so that when they layer over top of each other, you're not going to end up with 4 layers of wire on top of each other in the center. You see with this one, I totally forgot to do that, so I'm just fixing that. You'll see what I mean. They line up and they're not overlapping. Okay, so now you're going to get your glue dots and your glue stick. I recommend glue dots. I like them because they have really good hold, and they're also repositionable, so they're a bit more forgiving if you make a mistake. But you can absolutely use double-sided tape. So you just put them around the edge every few inches. Don't put them in that center because we need to keep that open. We're going to overlap all those centers later. So just go around the other side, and then our glue stick is going to be filling in those gaps. So the glue dots are going to hold, and the glue stick is going to just seal those little gaps between the glue dots. So do that around the top of your wings as well. Okay, now grab your glue stick. I'm using one that's purple and then dries clear, so that kind of can help you see where I'm putting the glue, and then just line it up really carefully. Yeah, that's just going to seal all those little gaps between your glue dots. It can help to use the center part to line it up. I found that kind of made it a little bit easier. If your center's lined up, your wing will be also. Okay, now we've got our 4 wings, and we're just going to check for any little places where we haven't perfectly lined it up. You've stuck it down now, so there's no going back. You can't really peel it off very easily. So we're just going to trim those tiny little millimeter that it's wrong. Okay, so now grab your elastic. You've probably already cut it from the measurement that it said to cut on your chart for the age, and then we're going to overlap it and kind of make 2 loops, so sort of like a figure 8 on the side, I guess, infinity symbol. the way that you're going to position it is, if you have the loops to the sides, you want the X to be kind of tall, so the top two pieces are really close together and the bottom two pieces are really close together. So I guess if you turned it around, it would be like a squashed 8. So now you just take your stapler and we're just going to staple it together. Like, you literally don't have to sew at all for this, and stapler really holds it well. So yeah, just staple it like that. And then we're going to put it into our wings. So we've got the wings sitting on your table with the wire side of the wings down. Pull those other 3 to the side and just use the top right. And we're going to put our elastic in and we're going to staple it. So the section that doesn't have the wire on is going to be where you're going to be stapling it. So you're going to want the bottom pieces to come out the side and the top pieces to come out the top. So I just turn it over here because it is kind of easier to see facing down. And we line it up with our stapler. This can be a little bit fiddly, so just be really patient with yourself because you need to line this up. But if you get it kind of a little bit off, just pull the staples out. This section is going to be sandwiched in the middle of all these layers, so if it's got lots of staples and holes, no one's ever going to see it. So yeah, just position that, put your staple in, and then we're going to do another staple at the top to hold those 2 top pieces of elastic in. So you're going to fall in love with the stapler in this tutorial because it really is just a fantastic tool. Yeah, you can pull the wire can help keep it open, which is kind of handy on this one. There we go, going from the bottom. That's the way to do it. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's looking good. So now I'm going to walk you through putting all the separate layers together. Now this is confusing. When I was trying to figure out how to do this, my brain was like, oh my goodness, are people going to be able to follow with this? But I went over and over and over it, and it eventually made sense. So I'm going to show you over and over, and it's going to eventually make sense to you too. What we're doing is we're just overlapping from one side to the other and stapling each 2 pieces together, and then we're going to staple through all the layers except for the top and the bottom. Those are just going to get stuck down with glue dots or double-sided tape because we don't want staples being seen. So if you need to watch this little part of me going over and over a few times, do it until your brain is like, okay, I get it. So we've got these 2 wings, top right, top left, and we're going to overlap the middle 2 pieces and then staple, and then we're going to overlap the bottom right and top left, and then the bottom right and bottom left, and just staple those little overlapping ones and not the very, very top piece and the very, very bottom piece. Okay, so now we're actually going to do it. So you can take this video, pause it as you do each step. I would recommend doing that. So now we've overlapped those 2 middle sections. Take your stapler, put it in. Now I found that later when I was doing the rest of the wings, all the different colors that we have, I put a glue dot in the middle of these 2 pieces, and it just held it so I could get the stapler through without things shifting, because I found things shifted. You'll see in the video they shift quite a lot, and but the glue dots just cut a few minutes off this process. So I really like that. Double-sided tape would do the same thing. So you're just going to do 2 staples so that it anchors it and it can't kind of twist, and then grab your next layer, line that up. I found it actually easier to line it up once you've got the stapler in there, because any lining up you do right now, you're going to have to redo once your stapler's in. So here we go, staple at the top and then a staple at the bottom, and if you get it wrong, pull the staples out. It's not a big deal. You do really need to line this up, otherwise it's going to look messy. So make sure it's right in the end, even if it does mean you're stapling. So we've got that bottom piece, stapled 2 together, stapled 2 more together, and then your last one is coming on there. So yes, going in from the top of the wing is more helpful, I find, and then yeah, line that up as best you can. With this one, I did not get it perfectly lined up in the video, and I did pull it in, down, and redo it, as you'll see in a second. It's not quite lined up, but yeah, just fix it if you make a mistake. It's no big deal. Okay, so now I've fixed that layer, and you can kind of see how they're all lined up. Now we're going to go through avoiding the very, very top layer and the very, very bottom layer. We're going to staple through all of them. You've got them all lined up, so this is making this step a lot easier, and because of all those layers of staples before, it's really secure. So we're going to do 2 staples from the top, and then we're going to turn the whole thing around and do 2 staples from the bottom, because if you've ever stapled a big pile of papers, and notice at the bottom a few pages sometimes fall off, it's kind of the same concept here. So stapling from both sides just means the little ends of the staples crimp on both sides, and it really makes it secure, because you are really stapling quite a lot of layers here with the cover seal and the even the wire in there and the paper. You've got quite a few layers. So okay, now you're going to turn them around and take your glue dots or your double-sided tape and just cover that whole middle section with glue dots or double-sided tape. You could use a glue gun here if you wanted to, but I wouldn't use it on any of this part of the wings, because glue gun actually does leave like it's a raised kind of glue, like it's thick. So I don't recommend you use it on the rest of the wing, but this little section, if your double-sided tape wasn't really working very well, you could try a glue gun, and just try not to let too much of, make sure the glue isn't too thick. You put down a nice little thin layer and then push it down really quickly before it dries. So yeah, but glue dots work amazing if you have those, and then you can just push the middle down and you are finished. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found that easy. Yeah, these wings just look so amazing. They look adorable on a little girl or even like an adult. They're a good size. You know, I was definitely restricted with the size of the paper that most people have a printer for, but I think they're a really good size. So you could try printing them on tabloid paper. You probably would have to do that at a print shop, but then you could get definitely a larger scale. But here we go, there they are, and hope you guys love it. Please check out my shop for some other fairy things. I've got a no-sew petal tutu. I have giant butterflies that you can hang in your daughter's room or at a birthday party or a wedding, anything like that, and some small butterflies, just, you know, the regular scale of butterfly garland, which is stunning. Yeah, and thank you guys so much for watching.